Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me today, I have Bryan Bloom, the founder of Movers Search Marketing, the leading digital marketing company for movers. How you doing today, Bryan?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Good, good, good. Thank you so much for joining me. So, Bryan, how did you get started in the moving industry?
So we're unique in that I'm a founder of a digital marketing company that was a mover. So I was a mover for 11 years. It's something I have in common with our clients. I got into it like a lot of people did, just kind of by happenstance. So I started back in 2002, and it was a started as a local moving company in San Diego and grew it to the largest in San Diego. At the time, we were a Wheaton agent. So we went from doing local with to interstate, right, long distance, and every other kind of move that you can think of, international, military. Sold that in 2013. And one of the ways that we grew was I learned how to dominate online with SEO. So I just flipped my hat around and said, let's do that for other moving companies. So that's where we are today. So we've got clients all over the United States. We've been doing this a long time, helping them dominate.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So, obviously, we've talked about this a little bit, and it's a question that's burning on everybody's mind because everybody's trying to figure out the social media landscape. Well, hopefully, you're trying to figure that out because if you're not, you're lost in the past. So, this would be somebody to talk to about this. So, Bryan, how does Google decide who gets to the top of the search?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And we'll try and keep this talk in simplistic terms, right? Because what we do is relatively simple, but it isn't easy. And there's a difference, right? So, and then I want to come back to the social, is try and remember, we get a lot of questions about should we do social media, how important it is.
And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more.
But essentially, when people are thinking of moving, decided to move, or looking for a mover, they search. That's how they find people. So they're about 96% of all search is done on Google search engine. Bing is the remaining percent. And what Google essentially does, and this will make a lot of sense, right? So if you take all their patents, which become algorithms, which become how they index, they're looking at four acronyms. It's called EAT. So anything that you have on your website gets put in the index, goes through the algorithms. They're looking for expertise, experience, authority, and trust. You can think of those four things. So as you build those, and we can talk about how you do that, that's where we get a little more complicated. If you build those, Google will prefer your answer. And if you think about it this way, like what's an authority? Someone who has all the answers, right? Right. That's what an authority is. So first you want to just think of it like a wheel. You have to build those things. And there's no way in this podcast we could teach people how to do that on their own, but we can talk about how we do it and what it is and how Google recognizes it. But bottom line, Google's going to decide what the best answer is based on those four main parameters.
Okay, so we can obviously we need to know more,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people want to know more. The inquiring minds want to know, right? So, what are the different ways that people search for movers?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the moving funnel. And we're lucky in this industry because a lot of services don't really have a funnel. If you think about when you look for a plumber, you look for a plumber when you have a leak, pipe breaks, something like that, right? But moving's totally different. And anyone who's listening, including yourself, that's a mover will understand this. The search starts on the bottom of the funnel, and that's when I'm thinking of moving. So I'm going to start researching what's it like to live in Clarksville, Tennessee. What's the cost of living? People are doing this. That there's a huge amount, gigantic amount of search volume for those terms when they're thinking about moving, but they're already in their mind sort of looking for a mover. The next part of the funnel is going to be I've decided to move. So how do I hook up my utilities? How do I change my driver's license, right? I'm moving, but I haven't yet searched for a mover. And then the final part of it is I'm searching for a mover, Nashville local mover, long distance mover. So so if you think about it this way, those are all parts of the search funnel where someone, if they land on your website, you're the one in front of them. And if you think about it like this, let's say you're owner of a moving company and you were at a meeting and there was a group of people and you overheard someone say, I'm thinking of moving to a different neighborhood in Nashville, right? So that would be someone searching for, say, safest neighborhoods in Nashville. I'm just picking on Nashville, right? You probably run up and go, oh my God, here's my card. I'm a moving company. When you move, call me. Google's allowing our clients, if it's done right, to have thousands of different queries that sit inside that funnel. And our job is to bring someone searching to your website. That's essentially what we do, if that makes sense. Because anywhere in that funnel is a potential customer.
That sounds complicated to a degree. So what is there, can we make that simpler?
Yeah, there's all parts of the moving process where people are looking things up. They're asking questions. What's it like to live here? Right? What's the best neighborhood in an area? What's the safest? What's the cost of living? All the way to looking for mover. That's the funnel. Where do people ask those questions? In the search engines. That's where the answers are.
Does your company need more creative marketing and ad campaigns to improve traffic and organic leads? Well, Moving Sales Professionals has a solution for you. We have partnered with social media marketing agency that has over 300 million views on their ads and videos across social media. And they have generated over $35 million for their clients over the last 10 years alone. Their services include content creation, social media ads, pay-per-click campaigns, website and funnel development, Google Ads, email marketing campaigns, lead generation, and much, much more. For limited time only, they have discounted rates for their services. Sign up for a free consultation call with us via our Calendly link on our website or below this video.
And by the way, as a side note, and there's a lot of talk about you need to be on social media, you need to be on social media. But just think about, how you search for services. You don't search for them on social media. So even though we love social media, it's great for brand building and things like that. When someone's searching, they go to the search engine. So I just want to dispel that myth that we don't try and dissuade people from from putting a lot of effort into social media, but for the specific thing we're talking about, finding a mover or in the funnel, Google's the place to be. And that it also includes their local search product, which would be their listings.
So speaking of that, so what's the local search versus national search?
So most people listening here are going to be familiar with a Google business profile or the map pack. Okay. So that's how Google would define a lot of what they would call local search. As an example, if I don't know what city you're in, so tell me what city you're in.
We're north of Baltimore.
Okay. So if you're in a particular place and you search pizza near me, that's a local search, right?
Mm-hmm.
Google knows you're not looking for a pizza in a different state. Okay. So that's local. Google understands your location. A big part of what we do for our clients with digital domination, we've got the website, which is the place where you can come up for an unlimited amount of keyword searches, unlimited amount of leads coming to it. Then you've got the people that are local. And in the local search, there's very specific commercial intent keywords. There's still thousands and thousands of them, but just going back to Nashville local mover, office mover in Nashville, or I'm in Nashville, right? Or I'm in Nashville and I search mover. They're the same thing. So a big part of what we do is get our clients listings to move up higher in the search for local search, getting them into the map pack. Not every query for someone in the funnel includes a map pack. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, let me ask you this. You were saying about social media, dispelling the myth about social media. I know I personally have seen that ever since I started putting things up, that it definitely moved my company up in searches when people search for moving or for movers. I definitely jump out a lot more than I used to prior to doing the podcast and prior to being on Instagram and prior to having a larger following and larger basically reach on Facebook, etc. So doesn't that stuff, whether you're paying for it or not, whether you're doing your shorts or you're having somebody that's managing your profile and paying for to manage that versus doing it yourself, doesn't that affect the algorithm?
No, the Facebook doesn't affect Google's algorithm. And don't get me wrong, we're not saying people shouldn't do social media. What we're talking about is being proportional and scale. We have clients that have 150,000, 300,000 users a year to their website, landing on terms related to the moving funnel. So just think about that, right? 300,000. What would you have to do on social media to get to that level? It's impossible. So it's more a matter of scale because one is a search engine. Well, you could shake your head, but we have the data. I mean,
No. I'm just thinking about I'm just thinking
yeah,
about the
it's
fact if you're a B2B business like me, I'm never gonna get that. But if you are
exactly.
a mover that's doing something unique in your community and you're creating something that's exciting for people to watch you, and it's not B2B, it's your regular folks that are using a moving company, you can get that if that's what you're doing.
Yeah. So what our job is to bring our clients leads for people that are in the moving funnel, right?
Right.
Engagement, other things like that are great. It's about someone's looking. So there's, once again, you go back to when they're searching, we know we've been doing this a long time across many different cities, and we have a proven process to do it. So what happens is people search. And if you're familiar with the tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush, you can see the volume of people searching for things. So we're going after those. People don't go into Facebook and search for a mover. Now you can be in front of them and build an audience and say, give me someone that might have sold a home. So once again, it's a good adjunct, but if you're thinking about doubling and tripling and quadrupling your business over time, you better be doing SEO online. That's just where the largest volume is. Now there's other things that social media is great for. You might have a product, right?
Okay. Okay. Now, obviously, there's other SEO companies out there and what have you.
Mhm.
So, why you? What is it about you and your company that makes you unique? What is it that makes you different from your competition?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple things, and there's a lot of people out there doing this, which is fine. So the first thing is that, we talked about, Yuri, like we were movers. So from the top down, everyone in this company understands moving. We don't do SEO for plumbers, restaurants, and things like that. Because if you think about it in today's world, think about the competition and think about where it's going. It's getting more and more competitive, more and more narrow in focus and expertise. We're all moving industry people here. A lot of times people think, and we'll just use Nashville again, Nashville movers. Well, that's great, but let's talk about some other examples. So this gets to your point, right? Of, what's different. First, you need to have an understanding of what are the different opportunities. So there's local moving. Well, we are aware and have a target 21 different services when we bring on a client. Okay. So I'll just give you another example. People want their revenue to be more even instead of just way up in summer and then way down. Well, how do you do that? You bring in other services like office, commercial, white glove delivery, senior moving, things that don't have much of a cycle, right? So a great example of that would be we have a client, and so this speaks to how we're different because we understand that and we know how to go out and get those people that are searching. If you search like as an example, we have a client that's in the Bay Area. So if you search like Bay Area school movers, they're probably going to show up number one. Their name's Beacons AMS, and they just told us about a $75,000 move they got off of one lead, right? So this was a school that they didn't have a mover, so they searched Bay Area school movers. Our client comes up number one. So if you start to do that across 21 different services, start to really grow your company. People are, the focus of most people is they're just thinking that one keyword. But why would you do that when there's opportunities for over 20 different ones? There's, specialty moving, there's piano moving, senior moving, apartment moving. So understanding that is huge because once again, we're trying to get a client to grow in revenue. And most clients, would prefer more leads and each of those leads being a higher dollar volume. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So we have a process we have a process to do that. And then also we kind of call it digital domination, where like you touched on it, but we've got the website, which can show up for an unlimited number of keywords and queries, and then the local search, and you put those two together, and they do work together. So you have to have an understanding as the local search gets strong at it. You kind of alluded to that with the social media, and you said, well, when social media gets strong, doesn't it help your SEO? And there's a tiny element to that because it's a trust factor. So when you get the local search and the website strong, they actually help each other. And back to your point, you made a valid point. If we go back to authority and trust, social media is an indicator of how trusted you are.
Absolutely. Because I mean, you're trying to, if you're showing your face, if you're out there, it's like if you were doing things that weren't kosher, you probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, Google picks up on that. And also that's also why I would say for anyone listening, where should you focus your reviews? Focus them on your Google reviews over everything, because those are in the Google index, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Brian, obviously in this day and age, a lot of people are talking about AI. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So AI's here. It's actually been here for a long time, but the current model really stepped it up, right? And so there is a really good use of AI to automate things, to help give quick answers to questions, but you do not want to use AI to write your content. And I'll tell you why. Google will smack you down. So there's two ways to think about it. And once again, you let me know if the way I describe it answers it in simple enough terms. But Google's latest update, their probably last 4 updates have been around spam and what's called the helpful content. The most expensive thing for Google is running the servers that constantly index and check everything and send it through the algorithms. So now that there's AI to write things, do you think we're getting more or less content?
Probably more content.
Like crazy, because people are just writing it and putting it out there. AI cannot experience. AI regurgitates, right? Right. So just for a second, think about that. If you're writing content that's regurgitated, and by the way, it's really easy to determine it's written by AI. You can go online and search for tools to determine AI, and you just put the text in there, and this is what Google does, right? So if you're writing content that's not written with, once again, expertise, experience, authority, and trust, if it's just written by an AI, Google's saying that's not helpful. It's not helpful because you're just regurgitating, and now we have to go through all that, right? And so if you do that, Google actually penalizes your website because they want less of it, and they're rewarding original content written by actual people, right? So there's a place for AI, but it's not to get you to rank in the search engines. You got to be really careful, and we have tons of examples of websites that have just been smacked down by using AI. So it's a good thing used in certain ways.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely, because you would
It's a
think,
great question.
yeah, absolutely, because you think, especially today, I actually had, I mentioned this before in the podcast, but I had somebody that I talked to. I can't remember who right now because there's so many people that I talk to these days, that specifically said to me. So he had a brother, I believe, that's a teacher, and he had ChatGPT write something up for him, a paper on something, right?
Yeah.
And then he submitted that same paper back to ChatGPT to grade. And it was smacked down by ChatGPT even though it was a paper that was written by ChatGPT. So
Yeah. And you're hitting on something that it's really good for a lot of things. It is not good for trying to rank in the search engines for the very specific reason. It's such a good question, right? If you think about what we were talking about, how Google determines the best answer, it's not who regurgitated everything the best, because it's easy to tell, right, that that's what it is. So those algorithms just take that stuff and wipe it clean. You'll never rank. They're looking for, right, because once again, we're trying to, if you want to own and have digital domination in your space in, say, Baltimore, once again, go back to it. Google's looking for the website that has all the answers, that's trusted, has experience, right? So these are ways they determine it. If your content's AI generated, they're like, well, you didn't experience anything. You just regurgitated. So
So basically, it's the same thing as when you were in college or in
yeah,
school, and get busted for plagiarism. So
yeah,
it's basically the same idea that
it is.
you get A's for original content, you get kicked out of school for plagiarism.
It's
So
such a great
similar,
analogy because a lot of what Google does just mimics what you do in real life. How do I know if I trust this? And you kind of said, one of the ways is social media, and you're right. Google's going to look at reviews because that's user generated UGC, user generated content that's connected to you.
absolutely. So yeah, so we have a lot of interesting things that we're hitting up on. Now, Bryan, what do you think if the industry is where it is today? I mean,
Uh-huh.
what are you seeing in the next 5 years? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, oh man. Well, that's a question we have. We talk to our clients all the I personally do because I'm
Yeah.
more high level here. And depending on who's on the call in the team, and we always ask them how it's going. And you might even have a better feel for this because you talk a lot of people too. My
Yep.
feeling right now is that the worst is over. We were doing great, then we dumped because of the housing market, right? So we're all affected by the housing market. And the feeling I get right now is it's slowly improving. I don't see it going down. I see it kind of bouncing and then going up. Now that's
Yeah.
the housing market. So keep in mind, we talked about, we also with our clients focus on, we have 21 different services that, and many of those are not residential. So there's many, storage, packing, you name it. So if you're smart, right, and a lot of people listening to this probably understand marketing, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's part of what we do is we spread those eggs. There's a lot of baskets. So on the housing market side sucks, right? From the volume. But also what we see as well is that the weaker, when COVID was here and there was just, if you could just get guys, you could book moves.
Oh yeah.
Now that that's changed, we're seeing so when I was in the business before, we had a recession that was gigantic. Banks failed, houses in foreclosure. That was a nightmare. We grew. And I'm seeing some of our clients starting to do that from the standpoint that the weaker guys go away, right? They
Right.
hang on as long as they can. Sometimes that goes on for 2, 3 years. And then ultimately, your competitors, there's less of them. And as the market comes back, you gain that. And I think
Right.
that's what's happening. But you tell me, you talk to a lot of
Well,
people.
I think what's happening is I'm not sure if we've reached the plateau yet,
Got it. Got
but I
it.
think we're near it. That is my feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's only a matter of time before we see an increase.
Yeah, I think I would agree with
So
that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that we're going to be in the position that we were that crazy fall and winter COVID when all of us made crazy money. But I mean, and call this a hunch. Obviously, I have no way to determine. Just the feeling on my end is that I think we're gonna have a busier fall and winter this year.
Interesting.
It's not gonna be a jump like it was, nowhere near it, but I think it's gonna be a little bit better than it's been, at least.
Do you think that one of the ways movers can survive and grow is to spread their wings into other services?
I mean, I think the more you can offer to your potential client, the better, of course. But what I also think is, I think the biggest problem, and that's the problem that I see over and over again, talking to some of my clients that have been in business for 20 plus years. I have a few of those. Those clients, part of the problem that they constantly have, and I know that this is a problem across the industry, is that so many of them, even though some of them don't say it out loud, and some of them do, a lot of them are basically saying, well, we were doing this for 20 years. Why should we change now? But the thing is this is where frankly, those of you guys that are young, that are ambitious, that understand the social media, that have an idea of what, at least an idea of what SEO does, an idea over what you need to do with keywords, whether you're using services like Bryan's or some of the other ones that are out there or not, uh, having that understanding and being able to do more of those things, you're actually going to bypass some of the old timers, to be honest, because some of the old timers are so stuck in their way of doing things the way that they're used to doing things for the past 20 years. But we're in a new world. We're in a new reality today. where we need to draw traffic to ourselves, and doing it the same way that we used to do it the past 20 years is not going to be the next 20 years.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
well said.
you need to make yourself unique, you need to make yourself attractive to your future client. You need to build that future client base that may not be your future client today, but will potentially be your future client in 5, 10, 15 years. You need to be thinking forward. You need to be thinking ahead. You shouldn't be thinking, well, what did I do yesterday? It's not about yesterday. It's about today. It's about today and it's about tomorrow. And it's about what it's going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now. You need to, I mean, it's hard to obviously, I'm not a statistician. I'm not somebody that can basically build a projector of what it's going to be in the future. I can't do that. But a lot of this stuff is logic. What is it today that interests your potential customer? What draws that customer to a company? Price is one thing, quality is another, building the value of your business, a value of your product, a value of your service is and value of your brand in general, brand recognition. I was talking recently about Piece of Cake, and once again, I don't mean this as a promotion for any specific company or moving company in general, but their marketing strategies are revolutionary in a lot of ways. So come up, be the next revolutionary company, be the next company that comes up with something unique that nobody does before. Partner up with people that will allow you to do this, that will allow you to do something that's new.
These are all wonderful things. I couldn't agree more. Marketing is multi-leveled, right? And you still have things that work like sending postcards, right?
Right.
If you're a smart business person, you're hopefully doing most or all of these things, doing postcards, you're out there, you're, to your point, building the brand. None of that really matters till someone's actually needing your service, right? If they don't need your service, the fact, like I think Piece of Cake is great. There's a lot of companies that have great marketing, but if someone isn't moving, it doesn't matter. To like all my neighbors right now, they could care less, right? When they're thinking of moving, right? Now it might make a difference. So once again, I think that you kind of laid out exactly why our process is so powerful. From the standpoint, now we're digital, right? So there's still always going to be, like, you want to get referral-based business, you want to work with real estate agents, but we have also clients who have told us that real estate agents every time. So think about this. If we're writing for our clients and showing up for moving to city, every city that they serve, you get noticed. So go back to the funnel, because our space is the online space, not postcards, not lots of these other avenues that should be part of your marketing budget. But if you said something really great, you said something even bigger, which is you want to start building someone's relationship 15 years before. That's pretty bold. What we try to do is if someone's searching in the funnel, thinking of moving, right? Researching moving, that's where we kind of start the funnel. And what we have found that for us and for our clients, that's the start where people actually will engage with a mover. Because if I'm thinking of moving 3 to 6 months from now, it makes sense to your point, to have a brand that's positioned that I'm going to work with those guys. So you're kind of laying out in a digital world exactly what we're talking about. Get to that person early on, or maybe they're right at the end and I'm ready to find a mover. And to your point, if the brand is good, I'm not calling 6 people. So these are all really amazing pieces of how you go from just someone thinking of moving to they become your client. All relevant.
Absolutely. But of course, we can talk a lot about this subject, and I think we've hit on a lot of the important points. So, Bryan, once again, thank you very much for joining us. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. We're going to have links for Mover Search Marketing here. So please like them, please like us, subscribe, and continue following what we're putting out. We want to make sure that we put a lot of educational content. That's the point of this podcast. And once again, thank you very much for joining us, Bryan. It's a pleasure, and we'll talk to you again soon.